Today we're going on the subreddit Am I the Asshole because it's interesting, right? Like, it's a big question a lot of people ask themselves. Am I in the right or am I in the wrong? I love judging people, so let's go! Am I the asshole for telling my son I want no contact? Me, 45 male, and my ex-wife got together in our teenage years, got married at 21, and had our son at 22. After our son was born, we slowly started to drift away. When our son was about 11 or 12, I decided to pull the plug on my marriage. I don't know why, but my wife was very shocked. By that time, we already had dead bedroom for about 4 years, and haven't had any deep discussion for about the same time. I was just done. It took about a week for me to move out, and all this time my ex cried all the time, begging me to stay. But I stood my ground. My son was very angry at me and wouldn't talk to me at all. I understood why. In his eyes, I was hurting his mother. When I finally moved out, he didn't want to see me at all. I tried really hard, came regularly to see him, but he always told me he hates me and ran to his room. I was devastated. The divorce was finalized in about a year. Custody was in place for 50-50. We got my son in therapy, but it just didn't help. He hated my guts to the core. I never wanted to force him to go to my place. I could, but didn't want him to resent me even more. I still wanted to be there for him, went to his games, sent him birthday and Christmas gifts, but he shut me out completely. Last thing he told me is that he doesn't want me at his events anymore. I went to my ex house a couple of times, but she always told me that he doesn't want to see me and that she wouldn't make him. At this point, I was cut off completely. I found myself on a long dark road of depression and pain. It was like my son died, the lowest point of my life. But one day I woke up and was just done. I rebounded and have since moved on. I met my wife and we have 2 beautiful kids. Life was great again, until about a year ago when I got an email from my son. He apologized for everything, that he recently got a child and started reflecting and realized how horrible he was to me. He wanted to reconnect and be in my life again. There was much more in email, but I don't want to share for privacy reasons. I didn't feel anything when I read this mail. I didn't respond. Since then, he sent about 15 emails detailing what is happening in his life and his kid. I never responded, but I figured I at least owe him some kind of closure. I didn't send it yet. It goes, "Dear son, I would appreciate if you stopped sending me emails. I went through hell and back to be at this point in my life. I have a family again, and I'm very happy right now. I understand you have regrets and some guilt about the past, but I hold no resentment towards you, and I forgive you. Bringing you back into my life would introduce complications I am not willing to face for my own good and that of my family. I simply cannot give you what you seek. I want no further contact. I hope you understand and wish you all the best in your life. Goodbye." I didn't send it yet and finally told my wife what is happening. She read all the emails in my draft and was horrified. She begged me not to send it and opened my heart for him. We argued and a demand for therapists came up. She even told my parents and my mum went nuclear. She started berating me like I was a little kid again. I don't know why she doesn't understand. She was with me all this time and saw what I went through. In the end, she told me if I did this to him, she would do the same to me. I was speechless. I don't even know what I seek here. I went through similar stories here, and a lot of the comments were not nice to people in my position. I don't know. Maybe I am an idiot and need to hear it. Look, again, I'm not in this situation, so this is just my opinion. I feel like when you take on the job of being a parent, you need to have the ability to unrealistically forgive, right? Because they're your son, alright? If you think about your father, you wanted to be with him so much. You wanted to spend all the time with him, and, you wanted him to like you, right? So if he's had this horrible, horrible long period of being upset, hating you, and not wanting to spend time with you, and he finally comes back, and now you're saying you want to push him out, I feel like you kind of are the asshole in this situation. I don't see why you need to shut him out completely. I don't think it would complicate things, because yes, you've got other children now, but if you think about it, you are his dad. He doesn't have any other dad. He can't get another dad, right? If he's willing to forgive and he's willing to bring things back together, why shouldn't you? I kind of feel bad. Am I the asshole for telling a pregnant woman to sit on the ground instead of giving her my seat? My nephews both graduated from high school this morning, and I wanted to sit up front, so I camped out a bit in front of the entrance. I brought my folding camping chair and my headphones to listen to my show. About 40 minutes before the school would let us inside, a pregnant woman got next to me since somebody let her in line. I assume her partner? She asked me within 5 minutes, politely, admittedly, if she could have my chair. She was going to have trouble standing the whole time. I said, no, sorry, I need it more. I've got bad feet and knees, and went back to my things. She asked me again within 2 minutes, and the answer was the same. She, however, got a little mad at me and said that she was going to be struggling the whole time and asked her partner to tell me. He asked me himself, politely, and I again responded that sorry, but I needed it more and suggested she could wait in the car or just sit in the ground. At this point, the husband directly called me an asshole, but left me alone. I mean, it is a tricky one, because in most situations you should let a pregnant lady sit down before you, but I guess if you have bad knees and you're not actually at the event yet, you're just waiting. I don't think so. I don't. Am I the asshole for yelling at my wife after she blew up my phone with calls before a fire? Throwaway, because some of this made local news and I don't want it connecting back to me. Okay, great. After a great start. I work in a place where we are not allowed to have personal electronics on us at all. No phones, no smartwatches, no pages. I've been working here for about 6 months, so my wife knows this and understands that she should not try to contact me by cell at work. Phones are dropped off in our lockers, and I typically have mine on Do Not Disturb. Before this incident, my phone has never gone off in the locker before. Recently, there was a pretty big fire at a secondary work site that I do work at occasionally, but that day I was working at the main building. Local news covered the fire before I found out about it because, again, no electronics. Plus, the work we do isolates us a bit, so news travels pretty slowly. There were a few casualties, a lot of seriously injured folk. My wife had been watching the news from home and started freaking out, I guess. What? I guess? She called me 20 freaking times. Oh god. I know how this is gonna go now. Which, and I did not know this was possible, overrode my Do Not Disturb, and my phone was ringing for a while in my locker. In the middle of my shift, I got called into my manager's office and was chewed out and written up for my phone making so much noise. They told me to go take care of whatever it was making my phone go off before I went back to work. I won't lie, when I saw those 20 missed calls from my wife, I was seriously angry. Like I said, she knows not to try to contact me directly, and a citation hurt my chances of getting a raise or promotion. I called her back, and she was sobbing and asking me if I was okay. I said of course I was okay, and asked her what the hell was wrong with her to call me so many times. She was still crying and started talking about the fire. After that, I started half yelling at her about all the reasons it was dumb of her to call me. When I got home, she was super upset with me. I apologized for yelling, but she refused to talk. She's been very chilly the past few days and sleeping in our daughter's room. I know it was not the best decision to yell at her, but I still think my anger justified. 1, she knows I don't work in the secondary work site very often. 2, she knows that I can't be contacted directly and she could have just called the office. 3, 20 calls is absolutely insane. Am I the asshole? Yes. I don't think you need to ask that question. That should humanly be apparent. Your wife was worried about you. She was calling to make sure you're okay, dude. You're getting upset at her? I'm sure you could even tell your work that they were just worried because, I don't know, the other place you work at burnt down in a fire and people died. Am I the asshole for making my husband a vegan dinner, even though he's completely against becoming one? I, 24 male, and my husband, 25 male, have been happily married for a little over a year now. We met through a mutual friend, and he learned very quickly that I am a vegan. About a year after we met and got closer, we started dating. He had no issues with me being vegan, but made it very clear that I couldn't force him into being a vegan, which I respected. I haven't ever put him down for eating meat in front of me, as that is his choice, each to their own. We even served both vegan and meat-inclusive food at our wedding to accommodate both of our families. Up to now, everything was great. However, recently, I've been seeing a ton of vegan recipes on my Pinterest and decided I want to try making one for dinner. We don't usually end up getting to have fancy dinners at home as both of us work full time, but I found some time today to cook something up. It was a recipe for pulled pork sandwiches, but the pork wasn't actually pork, instead it was jackfruit. He seemed a little stressed about work, but I showed him the surprise dinner, and that seemed to help his mood out. He ate it happily, and even complimented my cooking, but when he asked what was in it, and when I told him it was a pulled pork sandwich with jackfruit as a meat alternative, he lashed out. He shouted, telling me that he made it clear he was staying a meat eater. I tried explaining that I wasn't trying to turn him vegan, but he just walked away then. This happened a few hours back, and now he's refusing to talk to me. I feel like I might be the asshole for making him a vegan meal, even though he'd made it extremely clear he wouldn't become one. Because even if it wasn't my intention to make him one, I still made a vegan dinner that passed off as one with meat in it. So, Reddit, am I the asshole? No. I feel like this dude just is very insecure about his meat-eating attributes. Is he a closeted vegan? Am I the asshole for calling my wife mental after she kicked everyone out of the house? I married my wife a year ago and moved into her home. She owned it outright long before she met me. I have 2 kids, 7 male and 11 female. She has none biologically. My wife suffers from ADHD and mild OCD, which myself and my kids have adjusted to the best we can. For the most part, everything is great, though she does have moments of ADHD rage where people stand in her way, interrupt her when she's hyper-focusing on something, or ask her a million questions at once. She can't stand having more than one conversation going at one time, and is basically starting ignoring me and the kids if we all start talking at once, because she says she shouldn't have to repeat herself continuously and tells us to speak one at a time. And since we refuse to listen, she refuses to engage. She's never mean about it, but it's definitely an adjustment for me and the kids. She works at a financial firm, and I work as a school football coach and trip advisor. That's a fun combo. We both had the weekend off, so I suggested we plan a big barbecue/pool party for the family because we aren't able to do much of our families combined. She was on the fence about the idea, as too many people in her space bothers her, and with her OCD, she didn't think she would be able to handle it. But ultimately, she decided that she would give it a chance and went ahead with planning. But it quickly turned to a mess. The kids, mine plus family, kept running inside soaking wet. Stones in the garden that had been placed meticulously by my wife were being moved. Too many people were talking to her and demanding her attention. And the final straw, my brother decided to mess with my wife and purposely move the steps over by 1.5 feet, making it uneven. She snapped and told everyone to get the hell out of her house. In her defense, she did ask people to stop multiple times, but essentially there were too many people to relay the message, so people kept repeating the same mistakes over and over. Everyone did leave, but I was so embarrassed that I called her mental and an embarrassment. She won't speak to me at all and hasn't since that day. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry, dude, but if you were my husband, I would be upset. You're telling me she showed all of these signs and was saying, hey, like, she was telling people to stop? Did you do anything? Did you go and tell the people to stop? You only got upset when she tipped over? If you were her husband and you know what she's like, did you not expect this happening? Like, you could have done things to prevent this or even help her. Ugh, this subreddit is a mess, honestly.